Hello, I'm back. First, I'd like to say thank you to Hodo Foods, the sponsor for this week's talks. Prize packs for this month's contest have been graciously donated by Hodo Foods, Crofters Organics, Follow Your Heart, and Orgain. I invite my viewers to enter the monthly contest at virtualvegfest.com and click on the contest tab for details. Entering is super easy just by liking and or subscribing to our social media and Virtual VegFest YouTube channel. You're entered to win one of 4 prize packs. And of course, thank you to the Plant-Based Network for sponsoring Virtual VegFest. So I'm here today to talk about compassion. And at the risk of sounding like the start of a Michael Scott wedding speech, Webster's dictionary defines the word compassion as a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress and a desire to alleviate it. When we look at the definition of veganism, we see that it states that veganism seeks to exclude exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. Sounds to me like compassion is the basis of veganism. So, most of us here will have that feeling, that compassion for animals, the concern for the environment, and the concern for our health. What about the concern for people who make it a little bit difficult to have conversations about veganism or honestly to even eat a meal around them? We all have those family well, maybe some of us are lucky and we don't all have those family members, but so many of us have those family members or those friends who sometimes may seem threatened or upset by the choices that we make, the changes that we make. Most of us don't grow up vegan or plant-based. We find our way there. So the people who know us best have known us eating in another way. And they might feel like traditions are going to change or something about your relationship has to shift. And it doesn't, right? This is a personal choice for all of us. How we show up every day, what we eat, what we wear, the entertainment we pay for, the beauty products we use. These are all choices. We're voting with our dollars every time we decide to buy something. We are voting with our fork every time we sit down for a meal. So when we're at those holidays, which so many of us have not been able to do, to meet with our families, but you know the family members that next time you do see them, maybe they're going to give you a hard time. So how do you deal with that? I think it's important to know your audience. If it's a person that you know will just is not at a point where they're open to talking to you, to hearing even why you wanted to make this change, my suggestion would be take the Doug Lyle route. He is one of the co-writers of The Pleasure Trap, which is an awesome book. But he says that when you're coming up against those people who are really giving you a hard time, we have to also try to be compassionate to ourselves. So maybe the best option is to tell them, hey, my doctor suggested I eat this way. I'm feeling pretty good. I like it. I'm just going to try it for a while. We'll see how it goes. That will usually kind of diffuse the situation. And then you can, go on with your meal and enjoy the company of people who maybe don't see the world the way that you do. When I first went vegetarian, I was only 20, and I could not understand how the people around me, once I started sharing information with them, weren't just immediately on board. Like, what do you mean you're not interested? Or what do you mean you don't want to hear about this or see this picture or this video or whatever I'm trying to share with you? It just didn't make sense to me. And so I was a bit in the face. Oh my god, my cats are in the background. I'm so sorry. And so I didn't understand why people didn't weren't immediately jumping on board with me. And as I talked more and really got to have important conversations with people who are important to me, but maybe didn't want to hear about why I had decided to go vegetarian and then later go vegan, I learned another way. We can People always want to talk about food. Most people love food and are willing to try lots of things. So maybe the best option, and feel free to post questions, by the way, about this or about anything else, or if you have an experience that you'd like to share, please go ahead and comment with that too. But maybe the best approach for your friend who's a foodie or who has, crazy obsession with sweets, maybe it's just to show them some really awesome foods that you're eating now. You know, um, Maybe you can take them to a local vegan bakery, which is amazing that we have those now, or a local vegan restaurant, or maybe you can, have them over. You guys can do maybe a Zoom call and cook the same recipe, since so many of us still can't be together. But if you get to spend time together, you get to introduce them to a food that you love. And they also learn how to make it. So, how cool is that? So, then maybe when you are finally together with them, maybe they would want to make you something vegan because they would start to understand. But I think, you know, being mindful of where the person that's talking to you is coming from, and to be compassionate that maybe at this point they don't see things the way you do for whatever reason. Could be the way that they were raised. They were never exposed to people who thought about animals in a different way, or who viewed animal products as unhealthy choices. And so we have to get them kind of used to the idea first. When I went vegetarian almost 20 years ago. So a lot of people have been in and out of my life and have been kind of exposed to me and my approach. My husband, he when we first met, he was like, "That's amazing that you're vegan. So cool. Good for you." And that was the end of it. He was not interested. Well, he's vegan now. And that comes from kind of being an example and being compassionate about, what he was ready and open to receive and what he wasn't. I never pushed anything on him, but I certainly cooked, a lot of the food. And so, unless he wanted to prepare his own dinner, he was eating what I was eating. And he started to understand, like, hey, this food's actually pretty good. And then I introduced him to vegan sweets, and then he realized those are really good too. And once people start to say, hey, maybe I could eat this way, this isn't weird, I actually feel kind of good. Now they've come to this place where maybe they are open to hearing about why you've gone vegan, hearing about maybe some ethical reasons behind why you live your life that way, or the health reasons why you choose to eat that way. And you can start to share more in-depth information. So now we've spent however much time cultivating this new type of relationship, which is really, if you ask me, the whole purpose of life. We're just creating relationships and trying to be the best we can be, and sharing the best of ourselves with others so that they can be the best version of themselves too. But we spent this time then cultivating this relationship and showing compassion for whatever it is that's going on in their life that maybe doesn't allow them right away to jump on board with you and go vegan. So I think remembering that, we're all in a different place. I think that helps us to be able to be kind to each other, and just to be able to put more love out into the world. And the more that people can experience that feeling of being accepted, even when you guys aren't on the same page, will make it easier when maybe they come across something on social media. Now you've become the person that they can go to, that they can trust to ask questions, because they know that you're not going to give them a hard time about not yet being vegan, or they're not going to feel like you'll judge the questions that they're asking. For me, my approach now is really just to meet everybody where they are and to be kind and open and curious. We all have our own story. And if you can start to get to know each other's stories, it makes it easier to know how to approach a conversation. I think, there's a good chance that there'll always be people. I'd like to think that the world will be vegan in my lifetime, but I don't know. But if we have to have people in the world who, for some reason, are just really mad that we prefer to eat plants and things made from plants, then we have to know where to draw the line. Because the compassion has to be not just for the animals, not just for the environment, not just for others, but for ourselves too. Like that first conversation I mentioned, where maybe we just blame it on some fake doctor we've never seen and just say, yeah, that's what I'm doing and this is what it's going to be. Um, it's just that, exactly. We can just keep hoping and keep sharing, having talks like this, spending a few minutes, on a Monday night to just connect, ask some questions and just, see where we can take it. But I don't know. I think it's a good start to just approach really anything in life with just some love, some kindness, have compassion for things that we don't understand, and be open to an experience and finding, something new. I did get a question before that we went live. So they wanted to know what I was having for dinner tonight. I had an amazing dinner. So again, feel free, post questions. We can go back to the compassion. You can ask me about food or anything. Um, but for dinner tonight, I had some country wild rice, Lumberg Farms, and I with some spinach. I sautéed some peppers and onions with, excuse me, with a ton of garlic and some pepper and broccoli, corn, hummus, of course, and a load of hot sauce in a giant bowl. That was my dinner. It was so good and so filling. And it was also really beautiful. So after I log off here, I'm going to post that on the Instagram for everybody to see because it's definitely Instagram worthy. Um, okay. I don't know. Do we have any questions? I don't see any popping up. Does anyone have a comment about compassion or any questions you want to talk about food? I figure, we can, of course, close the call. Um, but yes, yes, I agree. It truly is. Like I said, when I first went vegetarian, that was not the approach, and I actually I'm only going to admit this because I was only 20. I was still learning and I don't do things like this now. But I was at a fair with a friend of mine and he was online getting food. And so I was just kind of following along with him on the line. And one of the women who was just spooning out food onto people's dishes asked me if I wanted some chicken parm. And I said to her, I'm sorry, I don't eat anything with a face. And I walked away like I was, whatever. And to think about that now is just so, why would I share this with you? Because it seems ridiculous that I would do something like that. And now I feel like that there's no compassion there. This woman's just doing a job. Yeah. And yeah, we definitely have to learn to forgive, which maybe is why I was so free to share this tonight. I've learned and I would never say something like that to someone now. Um, a simple no thank you is really a lot easier. But yeah, let's, be kind to ourselves, forgive ourselves. We learn, and honestly, when you first go vegetarian or vegan, it's so exciting and you you want to tell everybody. Um, oh, a cookbook recommendation for beginner vegans. I love plant-based on a budget. by Tony. I can never remember her last name, but it's definitely plant-based on a budget. And I want to say, let's see, for beginners, if you're not a beginner cook, yes, Tony Okamoto. Thank you. Yeah, plant-based on a budget. So good. My favorite thing is the peanut sauce in there. So amazing. But everything I've made so far has just been out of this world. And the recipes are really simple. I think most of them are done in like a half hour. So if you're not a beginner cook, even if you are a beginner vegan, I would recommend anything by Isa Chandra Moskowitz. So if you're a fancy cook and you're already very comfortable in the kitchen, definitely get Veganomicon. She has some amazingly very impressive recipes in there. I love the Caesar salad recipe. It's the closest thing that I can remember to actual Caesar salad. But anything that she does, I think Isa does it is a really easy one. The recipes are much simpler. I also really love, if you're looking for something that's like whole foods, plant-based, no oil, low sugar or no sugar, low salt. The Engine 2 7-Day Rescue. That book is amazing. It has, I don't know, maybe 50 recipes, so it's not a cookbook completely. It has a lot of dietary information in front of it, but the recipes in there are amazing, and you can find a bunch of their recipes for free online as well. But that is really, like I said, no oil, no salt, no sugar, and really super healthy and very simple. That I actually learned a lot of good bowl building techniques through the Engine 2 7-Day Rescue. So if that's your jam, you want really simple things, and then you can find some good recommendations there. Yeah, so the no salt, no oil, no sugar diet is, of course, a very whole foods, plant-based idea. You can find that a lot of information about that from Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn has some good information on that if you're interested in looking at more into why someone would want to eat that way. Find a ton of information on his website, and also the 7-Day Rescue has a lot of information that way too. That's really wonderful, Diane. I've had that experience too, where I've actually had both. I've had the experience where the coworkers are like, "What are you eating?" And I tell them, and they're not interested, and they don't want to be my friend. Uh, but then, but then also, yeah, it's been great to have an experience with coworkers who are like, "Oh, what are you eating? Oh, that's so interesting." Um, for a long time on Fridays when I worked in an office, they would have free lunch, and it was never vegan. So I didn't partake, and people would always say, "Oh, you're not going to eat free food," and it was like beyond them that I wouldn't eat it. Um, but that's really awesome that you were able to have a conversation with people that you work with about how and why someone becomes vegan. So good for you. And you never know. You plant these seeds, right? That's the thing about these conversations. We're planting seeds. We never expect a person to have one conversation and be like, "That's it. I'm vegan." And some people may, and that's amazing. But that's never the end goal, just to keep those communication lines open and just get people talking, because we can accomplish so much and help people really understand each other if we're open to communication. Yes, Forks Over Knives, they do have an excellent cookbook. That one is really helpful. I believe they also have an app that's like a meal planner. So for people who like to have that kind of prepared, I think you can even make shopping lists and things in that. And Plant Strong, which is that 7-Day Rescue, they have a meal planner too that will actually create your whole grocery list, and you can have it on your phone and check off things as you buy it at the store. It's really helpful, really cool stuff. Okay, I think we're out of questions. This was so fun. Thank you all so much. The engagement was wonderful. I really appreciate all of you joining tonight. If you have any questions, maybe take another quick one if you have anything. But otherwise, I'll be back next Monday. So you can reach me, on social media under Did You Bring the Hummus? You can send requests into the virtual Vegfest. You make comments on the virtual Vegfest YouTube video. If you have any questions, you have suggestions for topics for any upcoming weeks, there's something that you'd want me to address, I am happy to do that. Yep, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Did You Bring the Hummus? Oh, awesome. Thanks, Diane. It's always good to have people who've actually used the apps and stuff to let us know if it's actually good. So thank you for that. All right, everybody. I'll see you next week. Have an amazing week. Bye.